Hey there, and welcome. Have you ever stopped to think about what's really going on with electricity? I mean, it's everywhere, powering our lights, our computers, the phone right in your hand. But it kind of feels like magic, right? Well, today we're going to change that. We're pulling back the curtain to crack the code on electricity. And trust me, it's going to make a lot of sense. So let's jump right in. Seriously, just think about that for a second. That little cable you plug in every night. What is actually flowing through it to bring your phone's battery back to life? It's an incredible process, and that's exactly the question we're going to answer. We're going to break it all down right from the very beginning. All right, so our journey starts with the absolute basics, the first building block. You see, before we can even talk about the flow, we need to know what is actually flowing. So this first part is all about that initial spark, electric charge, and what we call current. So at its core, electric current is just charge on the move. But the key word here, and you really want to lock this one in, is rate. It's not just that charges are moving. It's about how many charges are zooming past a single point in a certain amount of time. It's all about the intensity of that flow. And here's how we write that down in science speak. It looks simple, and it is. I's are symbol for current, Q stands for the amount of charge, and T, you guessed it, is for time. So the current is literally just the amount of charge that flows divided by how long it took. Simple, right? Okay, pop quiz time. What do we measure current in? If you're thinking C, ampere, you are spot on. 1 ampere, or amp for short, means that 1 coulomb of charge is flowing by every single second. So next time you see 1A or 2A on your phone charger, you'll know exactly what that means. Okay, so we've got this flow of charge we call current. But what makes it go? I mean, these little charges don't just wake up and decide to run a marathon down a wire. They need a reason to move. They need a push. And that push has a proper name, potential difference. You probably know it by its more common name, voltage. The absolute best way to think about it is like water pressure in a hose. If you have no pressure, the water just sits there. In electricity, voltage is that electrical pressure that gets the charges moving. And of course, there's a formula for it. V for voltage is equal to W, which stands for work or energy, divided by Q, our amount of charge. So what this really tells you is how much oomph, how much energy each little packet of charge is carrying with it. All right, let's lock this concept in with another quick question. Potential difference is all about what? The answer has to be B. It's the work done or energy used for each unit of charge. It's the energy per charge. So we've got the flow, that's current, and we've got the push, that's voltage. But you know, it's not always a perfectly smooth ride. As that charge flows through a material, it's constantly bumping into atoms and facing some pushback. Think of it as a kind of electrical friction. And that electrical friction is what we call resistance. It's pretty straightforward. The higher the resistance of a material, the harder it is for the current to push its way through. And we measure this opposition in a unit called the ohm. Now, what makes something more or less resistive? Well, 4 main things. First, a longer wire means more resistance. Second, a thicker wire, one with a bigger area, actually has less resistance. It's like a wider highway. Third, the material itself matters a ton. And finally, for most things, the hotter they get, the more their resistance goes up. And you know what? We can put all of that into one neat little formula. R is resistance, L is the length, and A is the area. Now, what about that funny-looking P symbol? That's the Greek letter rho, and it stands for resistivity. This is like a fingerprint for a material. It's a number that just tells you how much that substance, like copper or rubber, naturally fights against electrical flow. Okay, this is the moment we've been building towards. We have our 3 main players, the push, which is voltage, the flow, which is current, and the opposition, resistance. It's time to introduce the big one, the simple, powerful rule that ties them all together. Ohm's law. Now that sounds a little formal, but what it really means is incredibly simple. It means more push equals more flow. If you double the voltage, you're gonna double the current. But, and this is a big but, that's only true if the temperature stays the same. That little detail is super important, as we're about to see. And here it is, in all its simple glory. V equals I times R. This might be one of the most important equations in all of electronics. This little beauty means if you know any 2 of those things, voltage, current, or resistance, you can always figure out the third. It's an absolute game changer. You know what they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, check this out. For any material that follows Ohm's law, if you make a graph plotting voltage against current,
You get this beautiful, perfect straight line. And the steepness of that line, that's not just some random angle, that is the resistance.
But here's the twist. Not everything in the world of electricity is so well behaved. On the left, you've got your predictable ohmic conductor, like a copper wire, with its nice straight line. But on the right, you've got a non-ohmic rebel, like an LED. See that curve? That tells us its resistance isn't constant at all. It changes.
So let's just break that down one more time. Ohmic components, they follow the rules, give you a straight line graph, and have a constant resistance. Think simple metals like copper. Non-ohmic, they break the rules, their graph is a curve, and their resistance is all over the place. This is where you find most modern electronics, like diodes and LEDs.
Phew, okay, that was a lot. We've covered the flow, the push, the opposition, and the big law that ties it all together. So, you ready to see what you've learned? Let's do a quick knowledge check and put it to the test.
Okay, take a look at these 4 graphs. Based on everything we just talked about, which one is our ohmic resistor, the one that follows the law? Give you a second. It's got to be D, right? It's the only one with that clean, predictable, straight line relationship. Nice work. And for the final question, that straight line has a slope, a certain steepness. What does that slope actually represent in the real world? It represents the pushback, the electrical friction. You got it. It's the resistance. The steeper the line, the higher the resistance. All right, let's pull all of this together with the ultimate takeaway. If you're going to remember anything from today, these 4 formulas are the core of it all. This is your fundamental toolkit for understanding electricity. How it flows, what pushes it, what resists it, and the law that governs it all. So there you have it. You now understand the basic rules of the game, the flow, the push, and the opposition. But, and this is the really exciting part, this is just level 1. The real magic begins when you start putting all these pieces together to build circuits. So what happens then? Well, that's a story for next time. Thanks for cracking the code with me.